Tara, I know it's 10 o'clock, but should we give 5 more minutes since people are coming in?
Iron teacher?
No, I
Okay,
said,
sir.
Okay, teacher.
no, I was just saying maybe give 5 more minutes since people are
Okay.
coming in. Thank you.
Okay. Ma'am, okay.
Okay. All right. I think we can get started, right?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, distinguished resource person Dr. Gimol Thomas George, esteemed research scholars, beloved students, and dear colleagues. A very pleasant good evening to all. It is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you all to today's online session on the topic Human Resource Development for Building Brilliant Educators. This session is truly special because we are privileged to have with us an eminent academician, an international scholar, Dr. Gimol Thomas George, Harvard Mercy Scholar, and faculty from Nova Southern University, Florida. Dr. Gimol George has a rich experience in higher education, program evaluation, assessment, and curriculum leadership. Her academic journey and scholarly contributions have inspired many educators across the globe. We are extremely grateful for her valuable presence today. Welcome you, ma'am. I extended my warm welcome to all the respected dignitaries, our distinguished resource person, esteemed research scholars, dear students and participants. Your presence makes this session meaningful and successful. I'm confident that today's session will enrich our understanding and inspire us to become more effective and brilliant educators. Once again, I welcome you all and wish the session a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, Iron teacher, so much. I hope you all can hear me. right? You can hear me. കേൾക്കാമല്ലോ അല്ലേ?
Yeah, ma'am, sure.
Thank you so much. I want to ask you a huge favor. Can I only see Atsun with the camera on? If you guys can turn on the camera, that would be great. So I don't feel like I'm speaking to a computer screen, but to actual people. But if you can, so any of you can turn on the camera, please do so. If not, we can go ahead and get started. Right. Thank you. Some of you have turned on your camera, so thank you so much. So once again, thank you so much for inviting me to this session. It means a lot to me. I've done, Iron Teacher said a whole lot about me, so I'm not going to say so much more about me. But it is a true pleasure to join you here. And it's evening there, it's morning here. So thank you after having your long day to join for the session. I greatly appreciate it. My first and foremost thank you to Thomas Pidava, our beloved Pidava, who is my academic guide and mentor as well, for inviting me to this session, and GB ma'am for inviting me as well. And I just met Sunit sir this morning, so thank you, sir. And all the I know there are a few attendants in the call, so Achans, thank you so much for having me with you today. And I have a special guest. Actually, this college's own graduate, Father Philip Pulipra. He is actually from Betheri Diocese. He is with us here today. And I am a Malangarite myself. He is actually our begot at our church here in Florida. So thank you so much. With that, if we can get started, Sarah, am I able to share my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So the topic today is about us teachers, how to create brilliant educators. We're all teachers, we all do a great job teaching, but how do we go to the next level and be the brilliant educator? So that's the topic we're going to talk about. And this is not just a one-way conversation, so please feel free to jump in anytime. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Or if you want to contribute something, this is not a lecture format. Sunit sir, can I ask you a favor, since you are the moderator of the session? If someone have a question, can you just let me know? Because since I'm sharing my screen, I can't see who's asking the question or raising their hand. So if you could let me know, that would be great.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, so human resource development for brilliant education. So this topic is very passionate to me because, I'm an educator and my doctoral degree was in human resource development and leadership. So when this topic came along, when GB ma'am proposed this to me, I'm like, yeah, I'm taking this because this is something right in my alley. So we should first think about 3 questions, okay? Like just to have our thought process going. The first one is, how can academic leaders redesign human resource development systems to intentionally cultivate scholarly excellence and pedagogical innovation and ethical leadership among faculty? So every college, every university has a human resource development for faculty. But how do we redesign that just so that we can make sure that we're touching all important aspects? Are we trying to come up with scholarly excellence? Clearly this conference itself is an example for that scholarly experience. Pedagogical innovation. A lot of times teachers, we teach, we go into the room, and it's like the parrot says, right? We say the same thing again and again because we know this more than anybody else. We spit the same thing over and over. But how do we come up with new innovations that can attract students? We are so far away from just one way of teaching, right? Like teachers stand at the podium, students stand behind, behind or in front of you in the classroom, and you just speak, speak, speak. They just listen, and that's your session done. But that has a very low retention rate. Average person's memory or attention span is 7 to 8 minutes. According to psychological standards, it's 7 to 8 minutes. In 7 to 8 minutes, teachers, especially female teachers, our minds go home. We think about what are we cooking tonight. Think about students, they're thinking about what am I doing after this. So all of this happens. So how do you bring everyone's attention? The only way to do that, I'm not saying the only way, the best way to do that is by having an interactive session. When you have an interactive session and the information sustains, your audience tend to remember everything you taught them or everything you talked about. So have an interactive session. Even if teachers, the second question is, even if the teachers wants to inspire leadership, do they have the time, support, resource to do this effectively? So most of us want to grow into the next level. If you are an assistant, if you're a lecturer, you want to be an assistant professor, you want to be associate professor. Some of us wants to go into the administration track as well. But do we have the time? Do we have the support to do this? That's the challenging question that most of us face with. So that's the point when you have the administration and the leadership of the college or the universities come forward and try to help out the teachers. The third question that came to my mind is, how can we build a sustainable culture of mentorship, collaboration, and professional growth? Along, and then that goes along with the college's mission as well. A lot of times we come up with ideas, we make a program, but we don't sustain it. It end up being a 6-month thing or maybe a 1-year thing. Not more than that. We have a hard time sustaining what we have initiated or what we have promised. So let's move on. So how do we find out what we need? We need to do a needs assessment. So needs assessment. So I'm going to just pause there for a second, and can anyone wants to share their thoughts on needs assessment? Needs assessment for faculty. Anyone has a thought about it? We're talking about interactive sessions, so someone has to say something.
Ma'am, to identify student strengths and weakness, we need assessment.
That's a great point, but more from the faculty side. Needs assessment not for students, but to do a needs assessment of
Plan
faculty.
strategies for teaching and design appropriate curriculum and activities.
Okay, that's
And
excellent.
the difficulties of our students.
Okay, great points. Lay teacher ale.
There.
Okay, great points, teacher.
Thank
Anyone
you.
else like to say anything? All right, maybe I'll continue with the presentation. So needs assessment, like I said, like Leah teacher said too, we need to do a needs assessment to see what the teachers need. A lot of times we have assumptions as to this is what the teacher needs. Maybe that's a little different from what they really need. Needs assessment identifies the gap between the faculty's expectation and the institution's mission. Sometimes teachers have a lot of expectations, or institution has a lot of expectation, but they don't go in line with each other. So doing a needs assessment, not only with faculty, but also with administration could close the loop. Sometimes, teachers can be focused on their own achievements, but the institution is focusing on taking the college to the next level. And if there's a gap, when you hear from both sides, it closes the gap. and also desired level of knowledge and
यार
what's
तू
reality.
समझ में आ जा मक्की तेरे या क्या जो बोल रही है
So to an extent, you know, what are we expecting from our teachers? You know, not every college can be Harvard or MIT or IIT. You know, sometimes we have to know who we are, and we have to set our desired levels of knowledge for our college, for our teachers, and for our students. So if we are able to identify what do we have, what are we lacking, what do we need to improve. And, you know, like I mentioned before, a lot of times leaders have an assumption thinking this is what the teachers need. And that may not be it. You know, sometimes the administration think, oh, teachers just need a training, but maybe that's not what they need. Maybe a mid-career faculty needs more mentorship in research, or they just need extra time to do extracurricular activities. So these needs assessments help us in identifying how to reach what we need to reach, or what we need to identify. So there are different ways to do this. You could do faculty survey, you could do administration survey, you could do a focus group discussion. So you could have you could get a group of teachers together and just talk to them and ask them, what do you think we need? What do we what can we do to make you better satisfied in your role as a teacher, in your role as a professor? You could do the same thing with students. You could have one-on-one interviews. One-on-one interviews would be with if it's with Pidava, who has the ultimate authority on this, you definitely want to do a one-on-one interview with Pidava, so you can see what his thoughts are. Clearly, this conference is on Vision 2047. So we're looking at 20 plus years from now. So Pidava will have a great amount of you know, vision in this for this college. So having a one-on-one interview with Pidava or other higher level leaders will give you more information. Look at the existing data, look at the student performance, and see, you know, what can you do to make it better using the data. Also, same thing with stakeholders. So at college, a lot of times when we think about a college or academic institution, we think about teachers, students, the administration, the principal, and that's a lot of times what we think about. But in reality, there are much more stakeholders. There's government involved. There's local leaders involved. There's even donors. You know, people who may want to donate to the society. I mean, to the college may be involved. So having input from all kinds of stakeholders is great. I recently read a newspaper article about Pathanamthitta losing students, because a lot of students are going abroad, and the colleges, many colleges in that district is suffering from getting more students. One of the best things that needs to be done at this situation is to reach out to families, find out why all these students are going abroad and seeking their education there and spending 10 times more money. So as a college, maybe something that needs to be improved, and that may make the situation better and bring better students, quality students to the college. So you can conduct needs assessment in different ways. So if you think about it, it's what makes it, this goes back to the topic of my session, what makes a brilliant educator? Teaching, you know, I mean, developing people and, you know, making sure they're brilliant, or taking them to the next level to improve their brilliancy. Teach excellence in teaching and learning designs, or is it in strong research and scholarship? Clearly this college and this conference have a very good emphasis on strong research and scholarship. But if we are here, how do we take it to the next level to expand it? If you think about digital and AI fluency, this world is changing into AI entirely. It's almost like there's nothing that AI can do. So expanding our investment in AI and making sure our students understand that and we can take it to the next level. That's an amazing concept that colleges can do. Mentorship and student development, mentoring. Mentoring is needed. I feel like you can be 80 years old and have 1,000 degrees. You can still have a mentor, because mentor necessarily not a person who just tells you, just you do that, you do this, but it should be someone you can have an open dialogue with and communicate. So mentorship programs, if that's between teachers, or if that's between a senior faculty and a junior faculty, or having a mentorship with students. Students can have mentorship between peer students. Ethical leadership and professionalism. So, Indian culture, we have a very rooted culture, but some things that are okay and correct in India are not necessarily the right thing in the international arena. So, thinking from a leadership perspective, educating our students or preparing our teachers to not only practice in the Indian style, but also having an exposure to the international arena will help us get better. And community and industry engagement, like I mentioned before, when you have the community involved in the education in the college, it has a greater success, because your community, the students comes from the community. So knowing what they need, or we're providing maybe a traditional method of education, but the community might need something different. So having that involvement of the community and the industry engagement will definitely, give us a chance to be a brighter educator. So this needs to start from the very beginning. So anyone has any questions so far before I move on to the next part? All right, hearing none, we're going to move on to the next slide. So when you think about educators, teachers, it needs to start from the very beginning. It needs to start from the recruitment phase. We need to have an integrated human resource development system that brings and further develops brilliant people. So if you think about it, from the time you hire, a lot of times we're stuck in hiring people for what they are and not look at the potential. I personally feel like when I was first hired to academia, I didn't have much to show on my paper, but the person who hired me saw a great potential in me, and you know what, with the grace of God, I was able to follow that path and achieve success. So when you hire someone, when you hire a teacher, not just look at what they are now, but what their potential is. Do a teaching demonstration in the interview. A lot of times we have a lot of degrees and accomplishments on paper, but being able to relay that to the students and bring students into a platform of where teacher and student can have an engaged dialogue. That's what makes a teacher a successful teacher. A teacher should be not just a lecturer or just a one-way teacher, but a facilitator of education. So when you do the interview, make sure there's a teaching demonstration included, just so that we can make sure we're hiring the right faculty. And again, when you are hired, you should have a structured mentoring, not just having a mentor for the sake of having a mentor, but a structured mentor. So you can meet, you can meet with that senior faculty, and a junior faculty comes together and have a mentor program. Not only you just have it at the beginning, but continuous. You talk to them all the time. You kind of understand what their goal is and then direct them. And also clear expectations. We have to make it clear what the expectations are. And if there's a deficit, that needs to be told too, because if not, unless someone tells us we're doing something wrong, we don't know what we're doing. So the first improvement strategy is identifying what's not working. So as mentors, the senior faculty and the senior leadership should always mentor teachers just so that they know what they need to improve. Um, Continuous professional development, teaching, teaching in different format, giving them leadership opportunities, digital pedagogy certification, or just go into another teacher's classroom and just sit there and listen. Of course, you have to get their consent, but if see what they're doing right and see what you can do to improve. So those little interventions will take you to the next level. So we touched on building a strong mentorship program. So how do you do that? Pair them. I'm sure that's already in place and it's in existence. But when a faculty member starts, identify their career aspiration. Not everyone wants to be a researcher, and that's okay. But some people, research is their thing, and that's what they want to do. So you pair them up with a senior faculty member, a senior researcher. You some of us wants to, so my career, I always I taught, and I also had an administration component on the side. I would say it was probably 60-40 percent as far as when you divide the two, but I always had an administration component to it. So if they want to go into the administration track, maybe they want to be an assistant principal, or they want to be a principal ultimately, see what they're inspired to do and make sure they connect with administrative leaders, the faculty who has gone through that track. So you're not pushing a person to something you're interested, but also to their desire. And when you do something that you truly like, you make a better product. So as it says, mentorship accelerate growth and far more effectively than formal training alone. Sometimes we send teachers to training. Yes, they go there, spend a day, and they do get some stuff, but that doesn't mean they're getting the full depth of what they need. So make sure it's not just our interest, but the teacher's interest too. And align performance and promotion. So when you have promotion criteria, like I mentioned before, when you go from a lecturer to an assistant professor, look at what your promotion criteria are. Are you looking at all aspects? Are you looking at teaching excellence? Are you, a lot of times, we depend solely on degree. We say, oh, this professor has a PhD and 3 masters. That professor needs the promotion more than anybody. Yes, that's great. Having so many degrees is great because it did take so many years of commitment to get to where you are. But at the same time, are you effectively transferring that information or your knowledge to the students? That's a big component. So teaching excellence, not only from degrees, but the way you teach, the way you interact with students, the way you bring in innovation, all of that matters. Student mentorship. So, even if you are twins, you have different personalities. So think about your classroom. You have 50 students. That means 50 students coming from 50 different families, 50 different personalities. What one student need is not probably another student needs. So getting to know your students and being able to mentor them and take them to the next level. That's what a successful teacher can do. Interdisciplinary collaboration. A lot of times, we're stuck in our colleges, be it college, we're focused on education. A lot of times we don't look at what does MBA do, or what does another, BSc group do. We don't look at that. Neither we have the time to look at it. But when you think about the reality, when this student who finishes BEd and become a high school teacher at a school, they're going to work with all kinds of people. They're going to work with people who has degree in, in science, in math. And so to be able to work together and come together, you have to have a high level of interdisciplinary collaboration. So and a lot of times we're so focused on publications. How many publications has the teacher produced? And like I said, there's nothing wrong with being research focused, but that's not it. A faculty's value shouldn't be just based on the amount of publications they put out there or the number of degrees they have, but the service they provide, even the happiness they bring to the classroom, how much the students like them, or how much value they are bringing to the college. All of that should be considered when you are trying to produce a brilliant educator and create a culture of continuous learning. So, like I mentioned before, sustainability is a big component. You encourage, you experiment new things, and when you experiment new things, we all have fear, right? That's just in us. Even if someone says, "I have no fear," I strongly believe everyone has some level of fear, but you have to overcome the fear and then experiment something and celebrate teaching excellence publicly. So if a teacher did something great, embrace it. Sometimes all it requires is a pat on the shoulder saying, "Great job, teacher." I mean, maybe not a pat, but at least saying, you did a great job. In the US, they always say pat on the shoulder, but I know we have cultural restrictions. So just saying, lay teacher did a great job. Maybe that makes lay teacher's day or even week. So just telling, a word from department chair saying, a student told me, I am again using lay teacher because she responded to one of the questions, saying, I heard from a student, lay teacher did a great job in the class. She explained something. Getting that feedback from whether it's students or a higher level, that makes a big difference in the way teachers think. And of course, we do support conference attendance and research funding. That's part of every college. So, that continue to do that. Provide time for professional development. So a lot of times teachers are so overloaded with teaching because they have so many classes to teach, but do we give them space or time for their professional development? That's something the administration has to think about. If not, maybe give them one less class. Maybe, I know it's easy to be said than being done, but if you have so many lectures to give and you have no time to do professional development, that could affect negatively. And the culture the college has determines the sustainability of the college, the future of the students, the future of the country altogether. So we have to treat our teachers right. And again, this is going back to what we talked about just a little before, support well-being and workload balance. So, it says psychological safety, but what it really means is teachers are happy. Make sure our teachers are happy, because you don't want a mad or upset teacher to go into the class, because the way they present themselves is how the information is presented and transferred to students. If the teacher is not happy, students are not happy and they're not learning anything, and that's going to reflect on their outcome in their performance. Manage their workload, recognize them, have a work-life balance. I always think that teachers have a beautiful life, because unlike if you think about IT professionals, they are working 24/7. Their teachers, we're so fortunate to have our class and be done with it. But at times we take a lot of homework home and we have to grade them and we have a lot of things to do. But make sure as a college, there is work-life balance. And burnout can destroy the potential. When the teacher is burned out, the college is not really producing much. So, and then, we do all of this, but then are we really measuring the impact? Or are these just like activities that we're doing? Student outcomes, we're providing all of this for the teachers, but is that being transferred to students? Are our students getting ranks, first rank, second rank at the university level, or any other recognition around among the community that we're getting for our students? Look at different types of innovation. Look at the research productivity. If a faculty member is interested in research, we're supporting them, yet are they bringing more research content to the college? Are they being recognized? Faculty engagement levels. So, we all everyone has stress in their life. But are the faculty engaged in the sessions in their class? Are they engaged with the students? Those all need to be measured. Leadership development, are we giving them leadership development opportunities? Even if we are giving them, are they doing anything with it? So for instance, we're sending the faculty to so many conferences and they're going there. Yes, they're having an amazing time, but are they really taking them to the next level? If you have a faculty member that you spend thousands of dollars to send to conferences, leadership programs, all of that, 2 years go by and you do not see any accomplishment, then you need to revisit the strategy. Either you're sending them to the wrong places, or maybe that's not something that faculty is interested in. So we have to look at not only just activities, but the outcome that comes from the activities. So this slide is actually for Vidava and the Achans and all the leadership. So yes, teachers, we can decide all of this, but does the leadership support it? Do we have a leadership commitment from it? Do we have a budget that's supported? A lot of times colleges have a limitation on and restrictions on the budget. So even if we want to do X, Y, and Z, that may not be something that the college can provide. If you think about it, just saying, I want to go to this or I want to attend this, that may not be enough. So as teachers, as department chairs, as principal, what do we need to do? We need to come up with an actual strategic plan as to this is what the teachers, after doing the needs assessment, this is what the teachers wants to do, and this is what it might cost, and see if there is funding. And if there's not enough funding, can we reach out to the community? Are there donors who can donate toward this? Trust me, there's a lot of rich people out there who wants to donate money to education. So if we strategically plan all of that, then it's going to be an equal win for the college and for people in the community. In the United States, it's very classic that a lot of people donate money to colleges, and in return, their name may be on in front of a hall or something. But the money that brings in can be used for a lot of advancement of the college. And this is not like where you create a strategic plan and you just give it to the higher leadership and then forget it. This is something ongoing. Just about 2 weeks ago, I had a meeting with our dean, and then I talked to her. She said, "Oh, this is what we're planning. This is what you need to do." All of that, and she was very supportive, and she even told me what I need to do next. But what I appreciated the most is she said, as I was walking out the door, she said, "Gimol, let's not drop the momentum. You and I are going to meet 2 weeks from now, just so that I don't drop the ball or you don't drop the ball. So we have the communication going." That really assured me that she didn't just say a bunch of things just to make me happy, but she is truly interested in my advancement. So we need to do the same thing at every college, where when you have a plan, it's not just for the moment, but it is also for a continuous growth, and the leadership is truly invested in this. Without leadership ownership, the initiatives fade, right? So even if you plan everything, if you don't have the buy-in from the leadership, it is not going to work. So it's a partnership business here, where the leadership and the faculty come together and then look at the next phase of the college. Before I move on to the next part, are there any questions? I'm hoping to get, or a comment or a feedback. I'm hoping to get at least one or two. Everyone has been so quiet. Um, Thank you. I see a comment from Miss Niveda. Thank you for the comment. I have more concept to cover. You're a B.Ed student. Very good. I can already tell you're going to be an amazing teacher. I appreciate how much effort you took in making that comment. Thank you. All right, so I am going to, because of the limitation of the time, I'm going to continue with the presentation. So when we think about faculty development programs, to produce a brilliant educator, there's different types, and you all have been to some of this, whether it's pedagogical or research or mentorship or leadership. When you do the needs assessment, you'll get a clear idea on what kind of faculty development opportunity you need to provide. So one of the most important, I mean, you could think about all the development programs, but I feel like, and this is because I was the director of assessment for many years, I feel like evaluation and feedback is the critical element for a teacher. You do the needs assessment survey, but you do faculty development reviews or performance development reviews just to see, are we going in the right direction? Or do we need to deviate our path? And then we need to make action plans accordingly. If you get feedback, feedback can be given in different ways. It can be constructive or destructive. Constructive feedback will help you to grow and help you to go on to the next phase in your life, whether it means it's a promotion or redirecting your goals. So
Gimol Thomas George.
getting the feedback from whether it's students or department chair or whoever it may be, it will help you to grow into the next level. So this was I was hoping we could do sort of a breakout room session, but I don't think that's feasible. I'm just going to share a few questions, and I just want you to think about how satisfied. I'm going to not talk for a minute, but if you could look at these questions, and this is just for you to provoke your thinking to see at your college, or in your personal life as a teacher or a future teacher, all my B.Ed students in this room, you guys are going to be teachers in no time. So think about these questions and see, how do you feel about them? I mean, not about the questions, but how do you feel personally? How do you feel how your institution is providing this? Think about what kind of training you need. I mean, I'll pick up a couple of questions. What area of professional practice do you need? How confident do you feel about technology? Technology is growing so much, especially some of our senior faculty. Technology could be a challenge. How confident do you feel about it? How do you feel about mentoring students? Like I mentioned, we have different students with different type of personalities. How comfortable are you with these students mentoring them? Um, do you think the administration support you in your faculty development opportunities? Do you need more funding? What are your short-term and long-term goals? What kind of recommendation would you like to give to the college? A lot of times I personally feel like when you just identifies and says the problems itself, it doesn't give you a solution. But if you make it sound more like, this is the problem that I have identified, or this is what I want to accomplish, and if you just combine your thought process and then have the solution and present it to the administration, you have a better outcome than just saying, this is what you need, this is what I need to do. But when you give them a solution to, it's a lot easier for the administration to come up with solutions and to even see if there is funding available to do such thing. Now, I hope you all had a thought or two about this and ask those questions to yourself or share it with your college from whichever college you are from, and then see if you can take it to the next level. So we're gonna move on, and faculty development always it should be focused. The ultimate focus should be the student success. It should be interconnected. It's not just a teacher going to a bunch of trainings or conferences or publishing papers, but our ultimate outcome is student success. As a college, should we come up with what my goals are, what's the college's goals are we aligning the two together? If we are not aligning the two together, there's a disconnect. So as a teacher, your goal, the college's goal, the student's success. When our students achieve heights, that's when our college is recognized. That's when we are recognized as a teacher. So always, think about it from a 360 perspective more than just what your desires are. So if you think about it, we prepare our students so much. Indian students are the most brilliant students. Even when I teach my class here, I do have a few Indian students, and I'm telling you, they are the smartest students. Whenever I go into the class and I see 10 or even 5 Indian students, I know it's not going to be an easy class. It's going to be a challenging class. Indian students are brilliant, and if you look at just the United States itself, 30% of the doctors in the United States are Indians. 30%, that's huge. When you see 3 people, one of them is Indian and they're a doctor here. And if you look at the Sundar Pichai, Indra Nooyi, Satya Nadella, they're all Indians. And in fact, if you look at the financial success here, the average income of an Indian is much higher than any other population in the United States. That shows us how successful we are. The students that you're producing and sending abroad, oh God, makes me so happy. But we do have a downside, which is, are we preparing them beyond academic success? I do see a lot of times one of the challenges our students Indian students have, is they're great. They have amazing scores. They do a brilliant job. But when you tell them to speak publicly, it's a challenge they have. They get scared. Some students are very introvert, and some students are different. Some students are totally different, but there are students who face those challenges, or students who can take that criticism from someone. When someone says you didn't do that right, the immediate reaction is you just get so sad and get so down. How do we overcome that? The only way we can overcome that is by providing excellent life skills, teaching them how to be a better speaker, teaching them how to take feedback well. So teaching students the life skill is the best way to advance your students, not only in an academic way, but also in real life. So, what does human skills do? It enables you to deal matters effectively. When you have the appropriate life skill, you're not only helping an individual, but the society and the country all together and the world. And you are able to handle your emotions better. You will be happier and you will be healthier. A happier mind will produce a healthier body. So, teach them how to be successful. And when you are, we've seen in situations where, a student graduated from IIT or MIT or Harvard, and then the next thing you know is they're a drug addict, or they're going through violence, they're committing suicide. Those are all outcome of not knowing the life skill. Identifying the problem. What is the problem? Is it emotional problem, or is it something that's happening in their families? So identifying that problem and teaching them how to overcome that needs to come from teachers. I'm not saying you should play the role of a psychologist, but if you think about reality, if you take a day of a student, let's say they wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, they do their morning routines, they have their coffee, whatever, breakfast, and then they get on the bus and then they come to school. At school, they are with you from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., let's say. They're with you for 8 hours, 8 good quality productive hours. After 5 o'clock, they go home and they take care of their matters or whatever it may be. But it's all like chores, eating dinner. There's not quality time. The mind with awareness and the quality time is spent at the school, at the college, at the academic institution. So we teachers have an integral role in their life, not only for their academic success, but also their emotional well-being, to make sure they're healthy and they're happy. So if we play the role not only as a teacher, but also a guide, mentor, a parent, you're producing better students, you're producing a better nation, you're producing a better world altogether. And so life skills could be just the ability to have critical thinking skills or creative thinking, decision making, or just having good interpersonal communication skill, or having good relationship, or coping up with stress and resilience. Empathy, right? We need to empathize. We need to be able to empathize with others. In the Western side of the world, they say, put yourself in their shoe. Try to think from another person's perspective. When you hear something, you might think, oh, that's so silly, or that's so simple. Why are you so upset about it? But the reality is sometimes those little things is what makes the most impact in people's life. So just think from other person's perspective, think about it from the student's perspective, and then you can be a better judge and a better teacher in that situation. The other thing is a common problem Indians have, and I left India when I was a child, and even this day, that's the Indian culture in me, is having a hard time saying no to it. No to something. You don't know how to say no. You just say yes to yes to yes to yes to everything, and that burns you out. You won't have enough sleep. You are not able to manage your time. You're not healthy. You can't, sometimes you just can't accept rejection. Sometimes when you say no to someone, you're so afraid that they're going to say something and they're going to reject you, or managing pressure, or be able to tolerate stress, and making new friends. Sometimes we all need friends, right? We all think that we're good, we don't need anything. I have a bunch of degrees. I don't need to, I'm a great professor. I'm famous. I have published a bazillion paper. But sometimes we're all human, right? Not sometimes, we're all humans, but sometimes at the end of the day, we need someone to talk to openly, someone who can understand. So for having friends in your life is an integral part of your life. So find a friend who you can talk to openly. And if you have a friend like that, don't let them go. Keep them at any cost. And like I said before, teaching life skills, you need to be a facilitator. You need to have an open platform. You need to allow your students to speak. If that means they write a reflective journal, or they provide feedback, or self-assessment. One of my favorite thing to do is self-assessment. And that's simply because you are your best judge. I know me better than anybody else in the world. You know your deficits. You know your strength. If you can self-assess, and then before you go to bed, think for 5 minutes, what did I do? What could I do better tomorrow? And don't be upset if we all make mistakes, and mistakes are part of life. But if you think about, as a faculty member, as a teacher, what can I do better? And then just reflect on it. So it makes you a better you the next day. So do the self-assessment and provide feedback. So we are educators. We should be responsible. How do we incorporate these skills? How do we make an informal assessment of ourselves? Can we be their success coach? Can we be not just their teacher, but be honestly their success coach? We may also learn something from students, right? We're teachers. Yeah, we know a lot, but sometimes we can learn something from students. We are the backbone. Faculty development, human resource development with a purpose, it empowers teachers. So we can ultimately empower the students. Investing, this is to, like I said, to the administration in this room, investing faculty faculty growth is the most direct and sustainable way to achieve student success. And that will ultimately end up in institutional success altogether. One of my favorite quotes by President Kalam, teachers are the backbone of any country, the pillar upon which all aspirations are converted to realities. So we are teachers, we need to take our students, we need to make sure our students are successful, our college is successful. So that concludes my presentation, but next few minutes I'm going to say it in Malayalam. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എത്ര പേർക്ക് അറിയാവുന്ന അറിയത്തില്ല, ഞാൻ മലയാളിയാണ്. പേര് കേട്ട് അറിയാലോ, ജിമോൾ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പം മലയാളി പേരാണല്ലോ. ഞാനിവിടെ US എനിക്ക് 14 വയസ്സുള്ളപ്പോൾ US വന്നതാണ്. സോ നിങ്ങളുടെ അത്രയും ഫോർച്ചുനേറ്റ് അല്ലായിരുന്നു ഞാൻ. നാട്ടില് കോളേജിൽ പഠിക്കാൻ പറ്റിയില്ല, ഇവിടെ വന്നാണ് +1 +2 തൊട്ട് പഠിച്ചത്. നാട്ടിൽ എൻ്റെ വീട് കോട്ടയം, ഇപ്പം ഫ്ലോറിഡയിലാണ്. എൻ്റെ ഫാമിലി ഇവിടെയാണ്, 2 മക്കളെ, ഹസ്ബൻഡ് ഫ്ലോറിഡയിലാണ് ഞങ്ങൾ താമസിക്കുന്നത്. പിന്നെ ബത്തേരി എന്ന് പറയുമ്പം ഇറ്റ് ഹാസ് എ സ്പെഷ്യൽ പ്ലേസ് ഇൻ മൈ മൈൻഡ്. ബത്തേരി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഞാൻ ആദ്യമായിട്ട് കേൾക്കുന്നത് എൻ്റെ അമ്മാച്ചൻ ബത്തേരി ഗവൺമെൻറ് സ്കൂളിൽ ടീച്ചറായിട്ട് ട്രാൻസ്ഫർ ആയിട്ട് വന്നു. അപ്പം എനിക്കിത് എനിക്കൊരു 8-9 വയസ്സൊക്കെ ഉള്ളൂ കേട്ടോ. അപ്പം അപ്പച്ചൻ പറഞ്ഞു, ഞാൻ ബത്തേരിക്കാണ് പോകുന്നത്. അപ്പം സുൽത്താൻ ബത്തേരി എന്നൊക്കെ അന്ന് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ ഓർത്തെ ഇങ്ങനെ രാജാവും കിരീടവും ചെങ്കോലും ഒക്കെ ഉള്ള ഒരു സ്ഥലമാണെന്നാണ് ഞാൻ ഓർത്തത്. അല്ലാതെ ഈ സുൽത്താൻ ബത്തേരി എന്നുള്ളത് എനിക്ക് അറിയാവുന്ന ഒരു കോൺസെപ്റ്റേ അല്ലാതെ. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞില്ല, എൻ്റെ വീട് കോട്ടയത്താണ്. പിന്നെ അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് പിന്നെ ഒരു about 15 years ago തോമസ് പിതാവിനെ മീറ്റ് ചെയ്തു. ദാറ്റ് വാസ് സച്ച് എൻ്റെ ലൈഫിലെ വൺ ഓഫ് ദ ലക്കിയസ്റ്റ് തിങ്സ് ആയിരുന്നു പിതാവിനെ മീറ്റ് ചെയ്യുക എന്നുള്ളത്. ഹീസ് സച്ച് എ ട്രൂ ആക്കഡമിഷ്യൻ. പിതാവിനെ മീറ്റ് ചെയ്തു അന്ന് മുതൽ പിതാവ് ഒരു ട്രൂ ഗൈഡായിട്ട് എൻ്റെ ലൈഫിലുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പം ബത്തേരിയോടുള്ള റിലേഷൻ ഒത്തിരി കൂടി. കാരണം ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞില്ലായിരുന്നു, ഞാൻ മലങ്കരക്കാരിയാണ്. എൻ്റെ പള്ളിയിലെ അച്ഛൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഫിലിപ്പ് പുലിപ്ര അച്ഛൻ. അച്ഛൻ ബത്തേരി ഡയോസിസ് എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. അപ്പം അച്ഛൻ പറഞ്ഞ് കേട്ട ഒത്തിരി ബത്തേരി കഥകൾ അറിയാം. പിന്നെ നമ്മുടെ സാമുവലച്ഛൻ, ഗുരുദേവ കോളേജിലെ സാമുവലച്ഛൻ, പീറ്റർ തോപ്പിലച്ഛന്, മുരുദേവരെ കണ്ടത്തിലച്ഛന്, അങ്ങനെ ഒത്തിരി ആൾക്കാരെ ഇപ്പം ബത്തേരി അറിയാം. എൻ്റെ ഒരു സെക്കൻഡ് ഹോം പോലായി ബത്തേരി. അതുകൊണ്ട് വൺസ് അഗെയിൻ താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച്. ഒരിക്കലേലും ആ കോളേജിൽ ഒന്ന് വരാനും സാരി എടുത്ത് ഒരു ക്ലാസ് പഠിപ്പിക്കാനും ഒക്കെ പറ്റുമെന്ന് ഞാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നു, ജസ്റ്റ് ഒരു ദിവസത്തേക്കാണെങ്കിലും. But once again, thank you so much. എനിക്കിങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റി തന്നതിനും നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരെയും മീറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റിയതിലും ഒത്തിരി സന്തോഷം. താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച്.
Lay teacher.
Good evening. Respected dignitaries, our distinguished resource person, Dr.Gimol Thomas George, esteemed research scholars, beloved students, and dear colleagues, a very pleasant good evening to all. As we come to the end of this enriching online session on the topic Human Resource Development of Building Brilliant Educators, it's my proud privilege to propose the word of thanks. First and foremost, I express our heartfelt gratitude to our eminent speaker, Dr. Gimol Thomas George, Howard Macy Scholar and faculty at Nova Southeastern University. Madam, your insightful presentation, profound knowledge, and inspiring thoughts on human resource development have truly enlightened us. Your expertise in higher education, program evaluation, assessment, and curriculum leadership has given us valuable perspectives that will certainly guide us in our professional journey. We are deeply thankful for the time and effort you have dedicated to this session. I also extended my sincere thanks to all the respected dignitaries for your gracious presence and constant support in making this program a success. My heartfelt appreciation goes to our esteemed research scholars and dear students for your active participation, keen interest, and thoughtful engagement throughout the session. I would also like to acknowledge the organizing committee and technical team whose dedicated efforts ensured the smooth conduct of this online program. Today's session has indeed enriched our understanding and inspired us to strive toward becoming more effective and brilliant educators. Once again, I extend my sincere gratitude to everyone present here. Thank you all for being a part of this meaningful academic gathering. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.